Hey guys, welcome back. I have a new video for you, and the topic of this video is why the weight that you gain from your weekend cheat day isn't necessarily body fat. So I'm going to use an example of one of my clients. Her name is Emma. She's a 28-year-old female. She weighs around 55 kilograms. Her occupation is a medic, so she is in the medical field. Her background is in hockey, and we've kind of got her doing a little bit more resistance training, so she's currently training 5 times a week, and she still does 1 match of hockey, and her daily step count is around 13,000. So she's quite active in the hospital. She's moving around quite a bit. And this particular weekend, she had to travel interstate for some medical conferences and some meetings. And when she's at these meetings, there's a lot of catered for meals, and she doesn't really get a lot of opportunity to actually step out or get much of her activity in. And she's kind of forced to eat what is available. So this weekend, she definitely exceeded her calories. Her current maintenance calories, actually I better back up a little bit, so I'll give you a quick history. We've done a couple of different diet programs with her, and she's recently dieted down, and we finished her diet on about 1,100 calories, so it was pretty aggressive. She's now week 8 of her reverse diet, and she's up to 1,810 calories, I'm gonna say, and she's put on very little, only 3 kilograms in that 8 weeks. So she's doing really well, but this weekend she definitely went over her calories, and this is such a common occurrence. It happens for me, happens for a lot of other clients, just with different social events and things like that. And she was quite horrified to find the next day when she got onto the scales, when she got home on Monday, she was about 1.4 kilos up. She was so concerned that it was all body fat, and I kind of had to reassure her that this wasn't all body fat regain. And today I'm going to give you some examples and reasons for why it's not all fat regain. Okay, so here you can actually see Emma's weekly or Monday to Friday calorie consumption. So when she's been active and going about her normal day-to-day routine at the hospital. So she has a couple of days where she hits her targets perfectly. You can see here there's a couple of days where she's a little bit low, but overall she's pretty much on the money. And then you'll also see when the weekend rolls around, she has one really high day, which is 3,600 calories. And as well as another 2,300 calorie day. Overall, if we look at her average, it's actually around 2,117 calories as her daily average. So this is about 307 calories above her current maintenance. So that's a problem. So that's likely going to contribute to some body fat regain. So it's not 1.4 kilos of body fat. Some of this is actually going to be contributed to by some other variables. First, I just want to point out that our maintenance calories are not a fixed number. This isn't a static number. It's not like if you eat 1 calorie over your 1,810 as your maintenance, that you're all of a sudden going to gain weight. We have a bit of a buffer system, and based on personal experience and having worked with thousands of people, this maintenance calorie range exists about 10% above and 10% below. So for Emma, who's been targeting around 1,810 calories every day, she can probably eat or get away with eating about 180 calories above or 180 calories below that target and still maintain her weight. Unfortunately for Emma, she did not actually stay within her maintenance calorie range. If we look back at that average weekly calorie consumption, she's sitting around 2,100 calories or just over. So if we times what she went over by 7 days, it works out to be about 2,149 calories in excess for the total week, compared to what she should have been trying to consume. Based on that number, we can actually determine or associate that with a physical amount of weight gain. And that is about 364 grams of fat mass or adipose tissue gain due to eating that many calories. So you're probably wondering where on earth I'm getting this number from. So if you have read Fat Loss Forever or the Complete Contest Prep Guide, we actually break down in a little bit more detail where that mass comes from. So typically 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories, but in the case of the research that we have reviewed, it's not quite as simple as that. In fact, we use a number of 5.9 calories per gram of fat loss or fat gain in this case. That's where I'm coming up with that number, and if you want to learn more, I would absolutely recommend going and checking out Fat Loss Forever or the Complete Contest Prep Guide. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to learn more about this, why don't you check out our books online at the BioLane store. Links are in the description below. Alright, that's enough of that. Back to the video. So, where is the rest of that weight coming from? She's reported to me that she's gained 1.4 kilos, but the amount of calories that she consumed only equated for 364 grams. There are a couple of other variables that actually contribute to that initial or that acute weight flux, and that is dietary fiber, and the second one is glycogen. So since she has overconsumed calories, there's also going to be an increase in the food volume that she's consuming. And some of that is going to be dietary fiber, which goes largely undigested through our GI tract. And that has a physical mass associated with it. So some of that food that's still in transit hasn't yet exited its poop, it's still going to be in her GI. So until she actually goes to the bathroom, there's going to be an initial or an acute rise in her body weight when she gets on the scales the next day. The other contributor is glycogen. So considering that Emma is now 8 weeks into her reverse diet, we also need to consider her muscle glycogen stores. So for a 70 kilogram adult, we estimate that we can store around 400 grams of glycogen. So glycogen is the stored form of carbohydrate. So if you're in a really depleted state and you all of a sudden fully saturated your storage capacity for carbohydrate, there's an initial 400 grams that could be just contributed to from the foods that you're eating from carbohydrate. In addition to that, when we eat in excess carbohydrates, there's also osmosis taking place, where there is a concentration shift or a shift in the amount of solutes moving through the cells. So for every 1 gram of stored carbohydrate, there's also an accumulative effect of water. So for 1 gram of carbs, there's also 2.7 grams of water that's going to move into the cell. So let's say that Emma's glycogen stores were only half full, or she is able to store an additional 260 grams of glycogen over and above what she was doing previously. So of that 1.4 kilos that she's put on, we know that 364 grams is adipose tissue. We know that, let's say, 260 grams of that is increased glycogen storage. On top of that 260 grams, we've now got 702 grams of water moving into our system. And that equals almost 1.3 kilos or 1.3 kilos. So there's all that extra weight that is not actually body fat. And I think that really scares a lot of people if they do overindulge, particularly carbohydrate. There's going to be an acute increase in weight from that stored glycogen, dietary fiber that's undigested, and the water moving inside the cells. So what I said to Emma when she kind of was reporting to feel really stressed out and feeling like she's just put on all this body fat, she's ruined her reverse diet, I kind of had to say to her, no, settle down, that's not the case. So we just put her back on her regular macros, and granted, within a couple of days, that water weight, that 700 grams of water that she's now retaining, and the extra glycogen that was stored from the high calorie foods that she was eating on the weekend, once that passes, she's only really gained 360 grams of body fat. So it wasn't really a big deal after all. For you guys, if this does happen to you, I do want to stress that that initial weight gain is not body fat. Don't freak out, just get back on track with your macros, and within a couple of days, depending on how bad that cheat day was, things are actually going to turn out just fine, I assure you. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope that this video has been helpful for you. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and hit that like button, and we'll see you next time.